Let's say a very good morning to the Sun's deputy political editor, legendary Ryan Sabey. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning, Jeremy.
It's all good on here, mate. Did you see that Lisa Nandy speech? If it walks like a duck and looks like a duck, it is a duck.
Yeah, no, she was. I think it's something she said last week, and obviously she got pressed on it yesterday, and it's created a bit of a row because obviously reform have hit back, but also doesn't play particularly well with some people who are maybe in her constituency who are thinking of switching to reform, who are probably in that sort of position and think, well, are you labelling the party? Are you labelling me for having?
And also, Ryan, let's get serious. What is it? Not duckist? How do you think ducks feel? I mean, it might not be fascist. It's anti-duck, I think. I mean, it's disgraceful. Listen, they're a bunch of idiots. Do you have any inside knowledge on what the 9 o'clock Keir Starmer talking to the nation is, my friend?
Yeah, what I'm expecting is Sir Keir Starmer to lay out sort of pretty on the line about what's happening with Greenland. Now, I think Keir Starmer he's always in a tricky position, but I think he's in a particularly tricky position on this when it comes to diplomacy, because on the one hand, he's got to, stick with his European allies when it comes to Greenland. And on the other hand, he's got to, not be too aggressive to wind up Donald Trump over what he's doing. But what Donald Trump has done, not only over Greenland, but the threat of imposing tariffs really puts Keir he's got a real dilemma over this. So I expect him to go pretty hard on Donald Trump, but not go so far as to really, really antagonize. I expect it to be a really, really forceful message. And I think one thing that you will see, we talk about never hear Keir, always on the world stage, always traveling all over the place. So I think this is going to be the moment where he can say, look, I travel around the world. I travel to America. I speak to Donald Trump. And because we are close allies, because we are friends, I can tell them some hard truths. And I think it's going to be that kind of message that we're going to get across this morning.
I think it's really interesting because you say that he's, and this isn't flippant, you say that he's in a difficult position. We were playing footage there of the first time he met Trump, and Trump's holding a file and some papers drop out of it, and Starmer flings himself to his knees and picks up the paper while Trump just looks down at him. I understand this special relationship more than people know. But I'm sure that Trump knows he's got Starmer by the short and curlies. And I'm sure it is difficult for him to say today, no, you can't do that. But stand with your allies. This 81 billion trade tariff that the European Union could tally against, they won't do that. And I keep going back in my head to when he first got into the White House, he was hacked off naturally, I think, about how much people were paying into NATO. They were paying far more in defending Europe. And he postured and everybody put their hands in their pockets. And I just hope, but I could be wrong, that this is the same thing. He's a deal maker, but he stands up to everybody. But I don't see a raft of politicians, starting with Starmer, that have the cojones to do that, pal.
Yeah, I think so. And I think one thing that, as you say there about Donald Trump, this is a starting position. He is a deal maker. He is a negotiator. Yeah. And I think this is where he comes from. I think there was in one of his social media messages over the weekend saying this is his opening position. Now, I think that's exactly where we are. And what he'll do is he'll try and get, maybe in a few weeks or even this week, when they all meet in Davos. Donald Trump was meant to be going to Davos this week.
Is it this week? Is it to Davos? Is this when millions of them get in their gas-guzzling jets and fly to the Brazilian rainforest to talk about net zero, yeah? Wow.
It's this week. Donald Trump due to speak there on Wednesday. Now, this was all meant to be about Ukraine. Volodymyr Zelensky also going, but this is now going to be totally overshadowed. I think we've got 70 heads of state. We've got Friedrich Merz from Germany going there. There is some talk of Keir Starmer going there. Now, I think if things don't calm down over the next 48 hours, I expect Keir Starmer, why wouldn't he go to have face-to-face talks? And why wouldn't Emmanuel Macron? Why wouldn't all these people go to Davos? Rachel Reeves is already there. But why wouldn't you extend that to Keir Starmer just to have that FaceTime and explain to him that what he's doing, not only over Greenland, but also over the tariffs, over trying to get us on side about his plan, that things need to ratchet down a little.
Couldn't agree more. Let's talk about the other big thing politically. Ryan will be dominating. We've talked Starmer and the Downing Street announcement at 9 o'clock, and no, Debbie's not going to announce his resignation. Let's talk about defections. Another Tory, quite, I'd say, high-ranking in terms of on the right of the party, Andrew Rossingdale, MP for Romford, former Foreign Affairs spokesperson. He's resigned overnight. He's going to join the ever-swelling ranks of Reform on the back of January. Where do you, as a political editor, stand in terms of, we've got the one argument that is you don't want to become the Tory party 2.0, but at the same time, you need experience if you're going to go into government.
Yeah, I think again, Nigel Farage got a real balancing act here because, look, the Reform ranks in the House of Commons have swelled in the past few weeks. Danny Kruger, now Andrew Rossingdale, Robert Jenrick. It's almost like 40% of his parliamentary party are Tory MPs. Now, I think one thing, it's good for Nigel Farage. It keeps that momentum going, shows that they are still attractive to voters, keeps him in the news. But I think one thing that he has to be aware of is that all those people who may be thinking about switching to Reform, maybe people in the Red Wall, Labour voters, they just look at the party and go, aren't they just the Tories? We had Nadeem Zahawi there the other week. I think he just has to be very, very careful.
I don't think the Zahawi thing would have happened if they'd thought that Jenrick was going to make that move. That would be my thing. Can I just say something that I rarely see, because I'm saying this, watching this out of the corner of my eye. I don't expect you to agree. How condescending is Susanna Reid on Good Morning Britain to Robert Jenrick? Looking down her nose whilst he's trying to explain himself. It's unbelievable. Let the man speak. Sorry, it just does my head in. You're not even a politician, love. I agree with you. It's a fine line. I'll tell you my line. My line would be that the Tory party left millions of people by going to the centre. And thus voters moved to Reform. So you could argue, could you not, Rye, that actually likewise with MPs, if they suddenly... But I think the deadline's quite important, the Nigel Farage set of May the 7th, because obviously you're not going to go, we've had the council elections, the Tories have been... I'd like to join Reform now. No, you've got to show your hand and I guess prove that you bring something to the party. What I think is astonishing is what Isabel Oakeshott said. Because Farage does this himself, nobody genuinely knows anything, do they?
Yeah, exactly. And I think, as you say about the May the 7th deadline, I think it's fascinating. I think that there'll be a lot of Tory MPs will be really deliberating about what they do. They'll be looking at the poll numbers in their constituency, realising that they will be out of a job in 3 years' time. So if they have to make that switch now.
Do you reckon Suella Braverman might be the next?
I think there is a chance. Now, in terms of the actual very, very next person, we're expecting tomorrow that it's going to be a Labour defection. Robert Jenrick has been out and about this morning talking about how that's going to be a former Labour MP. So let's just see the stature of that person. But I think it'd be good for Nigel Farage to see someone from Labour joining the ranks. And if he could get more of them before May the 7th, I think it really will provide a boost. But there will be people who Kemi Badenoch and the rest of the Tory party be looking at, just wondering whether they are going to follow Robert Jenrick. Robert Jenrick resigned from the Home Office. Suella Braverman walked away from the Home Office. So you just wonder, where is their future in the Tory party? What is the future of the Conservative Party? So it's just a matter of time. They've literally got weeks to decide. Any
idea, finally, Ryan? I know you're a busy man. Really appreciate you being on. Any idea who this Labour ex-MP could be at all? People said Kate Hoey. She hasn't been a member of the Labour Party for 8 years. She's an independent. Any thoughts?
The name that came to mind was Kate Hoey. A very sort of adamant, Brexiteer, former Labour MP. She's in the House of Lords. It wouldn't surprise me if it was her. They've built this name up over the past week, and sometimes when you build those names up, they're not quite the really, really big names. So I expect someone who we've definitely heard of, someone who's been in the public eye for a long, long time, but not obviously as now we know, it's not going to be someone switching from the cabinet or ministerial ranks. So it'll be a name that we all know.
All right, brilliant. Thank you, Ryan Sabey, Deputy Political Editor of The Sun. We appreciate your time. That Labour